on, everybody? What's up? Welcome to another
Hey,
episode. Hey, I'm your host. You know what show it is. I ain't got to tell you, but I may have to anyway. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today the strong one. Now, Danielle, tell me something. This is not your first time on the show, correct?
that's right. That's right.
It, it's been a while, though. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's
You
been a
know,
while. A lot of things have happened, and our
I think the last time you were on, you weren't even married. You had a different last name. You weren't even married.
oh my gosh.
That's how long ago it was. You didn't have this last name.
Oh, you know what? Hold up. You know what happened?
But I had a hard time pronouncing it.
Here's what happened. Let's fix my camera here that just fell down. It was a divorce. So my ex-husband's last name was Llewellyn.
Oh,
So
okay.
Evansen is my birth name, and I think so. Things have happened since then. So my fiance's name is Tim Connors, and he's another very strong man.
Congratulations, by the way. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I won't change my name again. It's gonna stay Evansen. I'm gonna keep things nice and simple. But yeah.
You know what? And can I ask? Can I? Not to get too personal, but
Oh, go ahead.
I know that sometimes in our sport, any sport, your sport, that kind of stuff, we all have a brand, right?
Right.
And I think you have a brand. So change your name again and be like, this is me. This is my brand.
Thanks.
Whether it be strongman, whether it be arm wrestling, this is your brand.
It's nice because even though it's not like my name is a brand and that like it's not like my name pays my bills, but people know me. People know me by my name, and I just like to be like, you know what, we're just sticking with Danielle Evansen. I don't have like children that I want to like make sure we keep the same last name with, so life stays simple that way. So it's staying Evansen. Besides, Evansen's a great name if you're gonna like yell at somebody. You can just like Evansen. You can't bark Llewellyn. It's a very it's such a nice sounding
No, because then
mellifluous name.
you start to stutter and all that kind of stuff. So, well, hey, there's some things I want to talk to you about, which is why I brought you on the show. A couple of things, and then we'll just kind of see where the conversation goes, right?
Sounds
So,
great.
now, earlier today, I posted, hey, Danielle's going to be on the show. Make sure you guys watch this, that, and the other. And then Mr. Ian Carnegie up north in Canada says, hey, make sure you talk about her match coming up on my event. So I just say we can start there if you want. Says, hey, when is that match coming up anyway?
So that'll be December 21st. So right around Christmas time. That's the Saturday right before the Christmas week. It's going to happen just outside of Toronto. MAC 2, which I think is Major Arm Wrestling Championships. I believe that's what that stands for.
Shauna Wagner says, hey, by the way.
Hey, Shauna.
Shauna's in the house.
She's my
Mr. Peanut's
homegirl.
in the house. The Drew 24 is in the house. So, yeah, we got people. Don't forget to hit that like button because you are talking to royalty, by the way. Anyway, so you say December, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so a right-hand match with Bethany Ritchie, and she's definitely been proving herself to be an absolute killer time and time again, as she did right-handed at the last Invitational round robin. So it'll be interesting. I'll be pulling with her right-handed, excuse me, and Michelle Dugan, the Scorpion, left-handed. And I've never pulled with Michelle before, so that's going to be really pretty interesting. I have pulled with Bethany, but Michelle will be a first. So that unknown and, of course, her arm wrestling pedigree is very exciting to get that opportunity. So thank you, Ian. Thank you, Mac Arm Wrestling.
A couple things because it won't. You and Michelle has never met on the table, but it won't be the first time or the last because you girls will be going at the round robin also. But we'll get to that down the road. But I'm kind of curious now. When I say this is anybody watching in the chat. Hear me out. This is not a strike against Ian. Okay, let me get that out the way. I'm glad you got the match, but I'm scratching my head going, okay, so you got two American ladies pulling each other in a different country. And I'm kind of going, I had to tilt my head going, you mean to tell me they couldn't find any ladies in Canada to pull y'all? I'm just curious.
So I think part of what happened, and Ian, please correct me. You know, I don't want to say anything that's like nothing I'm saying is I know for sure canon. But what it kind of seemed like to me was Ian was interested. He really wanted to get a Mac event still on this calendar year, 2025. But to be able to do that, get a venue in enough time and do it around Christmas time, it was kind of difficult to find people that were available if we wanted to kind of get another event in this year. So I think it was difficult to find women, but it was because of kind of the timing aspect and like being around the holidays and in December. A lot of people are like, it was almost even difficult for me because I'm going to drive home Sunday and book my ass home for Christmas dinner Sunday night with the family, you know? So I get it. It is a tough time, but for me, that opportunity was just way too enticing. So
how are you feeling? Because, there ain't too many people, and I've done this before in the past, but there ain't too many people out there who does a double duty. You got a match on this hand, a match on that hand at the same event. And I'm kind of going, man, I'm like, how do you get your mind ready for something like that? Because on this hand, you got somebody who may pull a lot different on this hand. How do you get ready for that?
It's really true. What I do is I think a lot of arm wrestlers can relate to this, is that each of their hands is better and weaker at certain things. So I lean into the strengths of both of my hands and what they are in the training and peaking for a match. So of course you take your opponents into consideration, because what if one of your strengths is something your opponent is super good at countering? Obviously you're going to work on changing your game up a little bit and coming up with some game plans. And I do anyways, but my left hand is a little better at finesse. It's a little smarter. It's a little better at keeping a riser. My right hand is a bruiser. It's just the cup and go.
Hey, exactly. You don't think, you just go, right?
Yeah, I don't have to think with right hand. I grab a hand and it's like, oh yeah, we're going like this. We're going like this. But left
love
hand.
Those matches.
Yeah, left hand's a little more intuitive. I can't rely so much on just drag them to the side and cup. That one's going to have a little bit more of this kind of style to it.
Right.
And I could sound like, oh, your opponents are going to watch this and know. And I'm like, well, all my videos are out there. And my style is not a secret.
I'm glad you brought that up, because, some people are so, they're so weird about that. And I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's like going,
right.
I don't want nobody to see what I do. I'm like, if you're anybody, they going to see it anyway. But still, I can show people what I do verbatim. You still got to beat me when the ref says go.
Agreed. If arm wrestling's paying your bills, I get that before you have big matches, you're going to keep some of your cards close. But that's different. And where I'm at right now, I would rather my opponent show up their best self. I'm going to show up my best self. And if your best beats my best, hats off to you. But, of course, I'm always going to go in with the mindset to win.
It's that weird saying where it goes like this. I think it says, I taught you everything you know. I just didn't teach you everything I know.
Oh, I like that.
So
I like that.
There you go. Boy, I should make a t-shirt of that, huh?
You should.
So, and here's the thing, because not that I'm stalking you, but I see a lot of, your workouts and your videos on Instagram and, Facebook and stuff, and you're putting in the work. And so I admire people who actually put the work in. Some people just kind of, go by, name recognition, go, well, I'm this person. Okay, fine, but are you putting the work in, Now, some people may work twice as hard as others. Some people just got the God-given talent to get it done and not work as hard, because everyone's different, right? If we were all the same, we'd be a bunch of walking androids, right? So,
but I think we see like you get pullers and professional pullers that have been doing it their whole lives. When even as aging pullers, you see they go through bouts of training really hard, and it affects their game, and they still get better. So I don't think you're never at the point where you're like, oh, I'm so good, I can chill now. It's like, well, if you don't want to be your best, then fine, go ahead. but people still get better even at the top level. And I think, that's if there's any motivation to keep training, that's it.
You know what? I'll piggyback off that comment because our sport evolves so much that you can't stay the same.
Right.
Everyone's getting bigger and better than you are, so you got to kind of keep up with the Joneses as far as that goes. And it happens. Now that can go into styles, that can go into training or whatever. You can use that comment and take it wherever you want with it. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's best for you. Like, hey, you know what, Danielle, because she does strong women, that might benefit her from a power standpoint. And speaking of which, what are your thoughts? Your colleagues, Brian Shaw, Eddie Hall, competing in arm wrestling. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love it as a strongman, and I love it as an arm wrestler. I love it as an arm wrestler because those names that have so many millions of followers, so many people that don't work out, they know, Brian Shaw is, oh yeah, I just know who Brian Shaw is. Like, and then now they're bringing eyes to arm wrestling. Eddie Hall, world record deadlifter. I mean, yeah, I know Thor got the 501, but when Eddie Hall broke that 500 barrier, like, they're epic titans of the strength world, and now they're both seriously training with basically arm wrestling royalty. That's so good for our sport. And then I think it's really exciting and very interesting to see do people that are already elite in one sport that's strength related,
right?
How quickly do they become good in a brand new sport? And I think we're seeing that the foundation that Brian has is very, very dangerous. But as an arm wrestler, you can watch those videos and see they don't move like it's an instinct yet. Mm-hmm. So I love seeing, but you can see the progress every single time they're arm wrestling. You can see, like, Brian is one of the most studious athletes you'll ever find. He is going to work recovery, nutrition, get every coach training optimized that he possibly can. So he's going to be very fascinating for arm wrestlers to watch, because you're going to take him through, you're going to watch the novice linear progression in the most advanced way possible. And I think that's right. The coolest thing about Brian getting into arm wrestling.
Well, I'll say this because, we all know they're strong. So that's not, it's how you use
no question, strength. Right.
So when you got Brian Shaw, who's being pretty much trained under Devin Larratt, hey, well, try this and make sure you're doing this. And, they're breaking everything down. Whereas, and I like the buildup, by the way. You look at Eddie Hall, and he's being trained by Neil Pickup.
Right.
And they're doing episodes on Arm Wars. Like, okay, they just, I think episode 6 just released. If you're an Arm Wars member, by the way, subscribe, be a member, because that's where you get all that content at. But they are breaking things down to, like, I've never arm wrestled before, and now episode 6 comes out. I'm thinking, man, he might do some stuff. I still think, Brian might win. That's not my prediction because I just don't know. I just want to see a great match. But
right. It's hard not to vote for Brian, not because it's a vote against Eddie. It's because Brian's so massive. That's just that's tough to contend with, So when you have two people that are kind of on equal footing as far as incredibly strong people with strongman backgrounds that are new to arm wrestling, but then you have one with a forearm and a hand that's got this much height on the other one, that's why you vote Brian. It's not against Eddie. But hey, we all love a mix-up. Like, wouldn't it be insane to see that go the other way? Like, who knows? It'll be so cool no matter what.
Well, okay, so what is Shaw, like 6'8"?
Yeah, 6'8". He's a 6'8". Yep.
So think about this. When you have somebody 6'8" stronger than an ox, and of course, in our world in arm wrestling.
Yep. And Eddie's 6'3", for reference.
Right. So all of a sudden you're thinking, hey, Shaw's 6'8". This might be the guy that might, dethrone Levon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so first of all, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
Because he's taking baby steps to the sport. It's just like the female version. Ashley down in New Zealand, bench presses 700 pounds or whatever.
Yes.
Well, she'll be the one.
So sad we won't see her and Sarah, but.
Yeah. Are we ever going to see her dethrone Barboa? Who knows? I mean, it makes you think. But what I was going to get to as far as that, when you have different sports athlete cross over to a different sport, like I'm wondering how long they're going to stay, because if you think about it, the last time a big, athlete crossed over, it was Larry Wheels.
Right.
And before that, it was Juji Mufu when he crossed over during the Wall era, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't stay for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes me wonder, is this like a one-off thing, or do you think they're going to really take this seriously?
So I think what I don't know yet, but what will be the determining factor is, does Brian love it? Because I don't know. I don't know if that's true for Eddie or not. Saw Eddie take boxing very seriously, but is that still like his passion, or who knows? Right. But I think Brian is in a spot where that competitive nature is part of who he is. And I think if arm wrestling can be a sport that gives him that same feeling that he used to get from strongman, I think he would continue to do it. But something that's always difficult when you have a high-level athlete, especially in a strength sport, that comes into a sport like arm wrestling, one of the reasons it's so dangerous is the more trained you are, the easier it is to, say, rip your own tendon off the bone, because you actually have the ability and the mind-muscle connection to use all of your strength and power. And now You're being asked to use your strength and power in ranges of motion and in pressures and directions that you've never asked your body to do before, and against other people that are also huge and incredibly powerful, putting tons of pressure on your joints. So I think if Brian can stay healthy and away from crippling tendonitis, the crux, I think, will be with Brian is, does Brian get that same drive, that same out of succeeding in arm wrestling that he did with strongman? Because if he does, I don't think he'll care about the pain. I think he'll just keep doing it. So I think the question is, will he fall in love with the sport or not?
Well, let me ask you, because, you're handful of people out there that got the dual sports, right? Because you look at Steffi Spencer, she does the powerlifting and does little arm wrestling, and you're doing strong. I say strong woman, but strong man. You get what I'm saying?
Correct.
Right?
And I'm totally okay with you just saying strong man. That's not an issue for me. I'm a strong woman that does the sport of strongman.
Right, and you do arm wrestling too.
Yeah.
But because you girls, you two I just mentioned, because the training is a little different,
Correct.
And I wonder. Because, now I might have asked this before and I can't remember, so go ahead and refresh my memory when I say this. It's because when you train for, it's a little different. Whereas with arm wrestling, this is where it's maybe Brian Shaw and Eddie might want to be careful. When it's arm wrestling, you're training against the individual.
Right.
Whereas strongman, there's people in the competition, but you're more focused on the weight.
True. Absolutely.
How does that mind, play into that,
So I think that actually could be what makes Brian stay with the sport, because arm wrestling is so personal. As arm wrestlers too, it's something I think non-arm wrestlers might not expect, because when you look at a competition from the outside as a non-arm wrestler, it looks kind of testosterone, but it's actually strangely an intimate sport, because when you grab someone's hand, the amount of emotion and things that actually get communicated between the two of you is quite a lot. And if you're a competitive person, that really fires you up. And I think that's what could end up working for Brian is, because with strongman, yes, it's kind of if you have that drive to win, you're kind of almost looking for a title thing, like the strongest man in the world. Like, it's hard to come up with a cooler title than that, right? Or just being the strongest person in your state, or a nationally strongest person in a weight class. Like, those things are super cool. But that feeling too of you versus someone else and conquering that is that the adrenaline rush is enormous. So if that can be enough for you, if you can get that same, it's different, but if you're the right kind of person, I think it's to me, I actually think that with arm wrestling is more fun.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. I've actually switched. So I still do strongman. Strongman was my first strength sport love. but I have turned strongman into the secondary, not the primary sport anymore. And so have I seen strength losses? I'll say in my compound lifts, yes, they're lower. But in now focusing my body's primary recovery on arm wrestling, my hand and wrist and arm wrestling ability has never been stronger. So it's kind of an interesting, I feel like now that I'm kind of letting my body focus its recovery on this instead of so much systemic stress that I was putting it under, programming, get that max deadlift, get that max log press, get that, those huge compound lifts higher and higher and higher, which, I mean, it does. It's super fun, but it takes a lot of recovery. Whereas with your arms, you can do a hard forearm workout and the next day your CNS is fine. Like you might be like, oh, my arm hurts, but like you can still like go squat fine.
There was a guy here in Oregon, in Salem actually, and it was like, he had he was in the strongman, had all the equipment, he wanted to kind of cross over in the arm wrestling, so I kind of came there and hey, try my sport out and I'll try yours out. So I did it just for the day, but I can't tell you the amount of pain my joints went through, like picking up stones and everything. And and I'm telling you, it's, and what I really want to get to you when you first start sticking your toe in the water with arm wrestling, because with strongman, it's pretty cut and dry. You either pick up the weight or you don't. That's pretty much it. Where in arm wrestling, there's so many variables. There's like you grip up, but you're thinking, okay, is he or she applying up pressure, back pressure, down pressure, side pressure? Well, if I got a pin, I think I pin, but the referee's saying no, 2 more inches. There's so many variables you got to think about in that snap, judgment where it's like they raise a flag, go do it. You either get it up or you don't.
Right.
How did that work for you when you actually made that transition into the sport of arm wrestling?
What I would compare it to is like something motivating with strongman to me is like if you can't do something, I find that incredibly motivating to become somebody who can. And with arm wrestling, because you're always learning, right? I've been arm wrestling now since March 2020, but we're coming up on 5 years. And as an arm wrestling, to many people, it's still an arm wrestling baby. So I've learned a lot, but I'm still constantly learning more. So I think where that kind of came into arm wrestling was, especially in like the first 2 years, when you grip somebody's hand and you experience something brand new and you don't know what to do and you're ready to go and you make a mistake and you're like, oh my gosh, I never felt something like that before. Like, what would I even do if I came across that again? And that to me is the same feeling, that same motivation of, man, I really want to get a 250-pound Atlas stone, or I really want to get my deadlift to 200 kilos, or I really want to, it's that same, like you grip something and it's like, I don't know what this is right now, but I want to become a person that does. And I think something strongman taught me that I brought into arm wrestling is that the only difference between you right now and the version of you that knows how to do something is just the willingness to put in enough time. And if you're willing to do that, you'll become that thing you want to be. And that's with arm wrestling. It's to me, it immediately just got more exciting. And I actually think that the combination of arm wrestling being a strength sport and like a miniature fight is what makes that fun, because it really brings your brain into it, which makes it exciting and it's emotional, but it's also strength. So, and there's always the unpredictability. When you come up to a log, if you've practiced that, you've done it before in training, you should be able to do it, especially on competition day when you're rested and you're strong. But if you've arm wrestled somebody 4 times before, but you're close, but you beat them every time, you still, they could pull a rabbit out of their hat and kick your ass. You don't know. They might do something you never expected, and they figured you out. Now they have your number, and now you've got to figure something else out. So that's so much fun when you come to a table. Right.
So every time I ask one of the ladies to come on my show, I always ask this question. I see you as somebody very positive. very energetic. I mean, you light up a room with your, personality. So what's it going to take? What do you think? I've had this question last night with some of the ladies. What's it going to take to make sure that the ladies division thrives in arm wrestling? At least here in the States. I can't talk. I don't know about Canada and in Europe and all that kind of stuff. But as far as the States, what do you think? It may not just be one thing, but what do you think some of the things need to happen? Because I'll give you my opinion, but I want you to go first.
I feel like this is a question I should be more prepared for. But what I'll start with saying is I can't put my finger exactly on what it is, but I don't know if Jody, you would agree with me, but I feel like something's happened since COVID, like in the last 4 years, where suddenly women's arm wrestling, like I've seen a lot more women be like entering into the sport and getting into it. And I wonder if it's more women taking like Lucky, for example, more people like her that are actually promoting each other from within and getting trying to get more women together, as well as people like Knuckles Up, people like Ian Carnegie and with Mac, even Washington State. Why am I forgetting?
Tim Talmadge.
Thank you. Because Tim always takes care of gals and tries to get good women's matches. And I think people doing stuff like that is really starting to actually elevate women's side of the sport. Now, I'm sure if I thought about this a little more, I might have a bit of a better answer, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
Well, I had a few ladies on the show last night. Shauna was one, Merlene was one, Katie Marie, but I had Scarlett Jade on the show, and I asked her this question. And, when she said and what I thought kind of intertwined, right?
Cool.
So she said, well, it's bad because at a tournament, you might get 3 women.
Correct. Sometimes less.
Maybe 2, sometimes uncontested. Whereas you do a round robin.
Yeah.
Now you get more.
True.
So there ain't no, okay. And this has been going on in our sport for years and years about weight classes and, the weight should be, and men and women do this. Men and women do this because they want the class to, pertain to them. Like,
right.
Stop bitching. Either fucking not the goddamn donut or fucking, work harder.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So, you look at it this way. Why is it round robin? I mean, I had the list here last night. I can bring it up again too. There's 12 ladies in each division.
Should have had it ready because, man, am I excited.
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, I don't mean to like sidetrack you, but man, the list of women makes me wish we could all pull right hand as well because it's so good. I'm like, I want both arms. But anyways,
man, and I will always say this because did you go to the one earlier this year, the right-handed one?
Yes, that one I came second in that one. That was awesome. And the 154.
Yeah. So and I've always said this. I'm gonna say it again. There were some ladies that weren't there. That might have shook things up.
Right.
Totally. Elizabeth Mosaic didn't show up. Might have shook things up. Nadia wasn't there. Might have shook things up.
Totally.
So now we fast forward to the next year, which is in April 26th, I believe. Katie Hankey corrected me on that. So think about it. I'm gonna read your class, right?
Okay.
Scarlett Jade, Bethany Ritchie.
I don't know if you can hear me, Jody, but I just lost you. Let me see on YouTube if that's.
Sorry about that. Yeah, just
okay. We're back. Cool.
Weather's choppy. Sarah Ray, Lauren Hughes, Christy Renzendez, Liz Mosaic, Jesse Androvic, Peyton Pickering, Michelle Dugan. So here's the thing, right? Those ladies I just mentioned, it's not that far. Mm-hmm. There is no, she's a home run hitter. Because you were there in person.
Correct.
Who thought, and I'm going to ask you, a lot of questions I asked last time I asked you tonight. Who thought that Jocelyn would have beat Sarah Bachman?
That was such an incredible. Nobody. I mean, no, like maybe Jocelyn did, but I don't know. I don't even know if she would have, because to me it was an obvious, like, Sarah Bachman at the top, and then probably an Angie Jocelyn situation there, and then everything's really thick with who how things are going to go after that.
Right.
I kind of like what Shauna said last night, because I did watch it, pick up on a good amount of that podcast he had yesterday with her.
Oh, thanks for watching.
Yeah. I like what Shauna said, where she was sometimes in the 155 plus classes.
Mm-hmm.
Some things can be a little more cut and dry, like who are the heaviest hitters.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, at this one, to me, it's a clear cut Sarah Wilson. But again, like, that's what we said about Sarah Bachman last year, and who knows, like, something could happen, and wouldn't that be exciting? But in 154, like, I think you could run that round robin back every other week for 4 months and have 3 to 4 people cycle a winner, like, depending on, and
Exactly.
like, it can get kind of tight. So I'm
looking at this list, and I don't think, and this is no offense, but I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite in either class, because when you look at it, they're thinking, oh, well, Danielle's
I'm
here.
bringing up the list right now. I'm going to beast mode arm wrestling. Here we go. All right, I got it in front of me.
There we go. Right. So, I mean, Bethany was in it earlier this year. So was Lucky, but she was in a different class. So was Sarah, yourself. Liz wasn't in it. She was on vacation, but now she'll be in this one. So she's going to mix it up. Peyton Pickering out of Canada, just rocking people's worlds up north. Then Michelle Dugan. Haven't heard a lot about her in a while, but, you don't want to sleep on her. So
no,
I don't
never.
think it's a clear-cut advantage. And as I was telling Shauna last night, I mean, you look at here, don't sleep on, Beth Dukes.
Jesse Androvic, like, I mean, she's good no matter what, but I personally particularly think she has a pretty wicked left. Christy Resendez, she's known for for preferring her left. I've never pulled her before left, but I watched her at WAL. I know she's really impressive. Obviously, we all know Elizabeth Machek, and she's just titanically strong. Michelle Dugan. We have myself. We have Bethany Ritchie, and I wouldn't be surprised. And that's half the class. And if any one of those people were first, I wouldn't even be surprised. So,
right.
I mean, that's amazing. Now, in the 155 plus, my personal opinion is I honestly believe Sarah Wilson will be an absolute brick wall to every single person. I think Angie Rose will come second. And after that, I think it's a fight for third that I cannot predict. But me and Shauna are going to be working hard together to make sure she's in that number 3 spot. We're really lucky to have each other, to be honest. And especially since Shauna's left is quite wicked. So we're going to be definitely training with each other quite a bit.
There's some names in that 155 class that won't be there. There's no Sarah. There's no Jocelyn.
No Jocelyn.
Heck, there's no Madison Walker.
That's true.
She's not in there. I mean, what I said last night, and you tell me what you think. I think the more we have these round robins for you ladies, you'll start getting new names in each year. Like, okay, I want to put my name in the hat. Because when that first one hit, it was like going, okay, at first it was like, oh, yeah, so-and-so's a favorite. She's going to win. And then when it didn't happen, it was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe people like us do have a chance. And boom, there we go. But before I go on, we do have a question for USS Liberty. Says, does Danielle have any bulking tips for us?
Bulking tips? Sure. Okay. So if you're looking for bulking tips, here's what I would do. Now, counting calories can be a controversial topic. So when I talk about counting calories, I am telling you what my experience is. So I'm not saying this is what's right, this is what's wrong. I'm telling you this is what I do and this is what works for me. If I want to change my weight, and in this case we're talking a bulk, what I would do is I would, everything that I eat normally without even thinking about it, just track it. Just for like a week, just track it. Doesn't matter what it is. If you have a little Lindor chocolate, or if you eat a whole Chinese food extravaganza, estimate it, whatever, track every single thing you put in your mouth for 7 days. And each day you'll see how many calories that was every single day. Also, weigh yourself. At the end of that week, average what your weight was, average what your calories were, how much did it go up or down. Based on that, you'll want to basically have a caloric surplus of about 300 to 500 calories, depending on who you are, per day. This does depend on your body size. But essentially, you want to gain weight for a bulk of about a rate of 1 to 2% of your body weight per month. That's not much, but if you're going more than 2% a month, then you are putting on probably a little more fluff than you want. If you don't care about fluff, then eat whatever you want. But you have to eat more calories than you burn. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is just to count it and then make sure you eat more than that.
That's too much math. Damn math.
Okay, I'll say, I get it. The math is intimidating. However, I will say, and I promise, I'm talking from experience, once you do it, you create the instinct, and then you just start to be able to do it without thinking about it. I don't count anymore. I'm at a point now where I know. Now, where that changes sometimes is when you change weight classes. If you go up a weight class or down a weight class, then you start to learn, okay, my energy expenditure is a little different here, a little different there. I had to learn, once I wasn't focusing on strongman so much, my maintenance calories went from about 3,500 a day to around 2,800 a day to maintain what I do on a day that I work out. Because strongman was just way more active and required more energy to keep me going at the weight that I was at versus now.
Not only that, but, when you said, is different weight classes, if you want to cut weight, hell, when you get to be my age, you have to, because it happens to everybody, you also got to think about metabolism.
Totally.
It's a proven fact. As you get older, I'm knocking on the door of 50 pretty soon. It's a proven fact that once you get up there in age, your metabolism's like, going slow, right?
Yeah.
Like, damn, I'm afraid to walk by a cookie crumble, or walk by a donut shop.
Man, those crumble cookies.
Yeah, I'm afraid to do that.
So this year, I started this year at 177 pounds. I got down to 153. I'm currently sitting around 159. So easy for me to be 154 if and when I need it. But man, I had to freaking crumble cookies. They're so good. That was what, when I made my goal weight, I ordered like 3 boxes of crumble cookies. I didn't eat them all at one time. I mean, like each week, like 3 weeks in a row, I ordered.
Because each week you come up with a different flavor.
Yeah, exactly. And it was terrible. But I had to get it out of my system. I was craving, I want Qdoba, I want crumble cookies, and then I got out of my system, and now we're maintaining, and life's good. But
so good point. USS Liberty says thank you for the great answers. Carolyn's in the house. I haven't heard from her in months. Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn. Cheers to you, girl.
What is
There's another positive person in the community right there.
Yes, it's been a minute since I heard her. So what you got going on for 2025? Like, what does that look like aside from the round robin?
All right, yeah. So aside from the round robin, we have the Arnold Classic coming up a month before that. So
did you qualify already?
I've qualified already. Yep.
Okay.
And so kind of interested to see what that looks like. I don't know, by the way, love you, high five. Thank you for all you guys are doing out there. But kind of interested to see what direction we go. I'm I don't want to say anything. I know we're live, so nothing I'm saying is any sort of plan. But if it's whether I'm participating in a tournament or possibly a match, like on a Sunday.
Okay. We can also talk. We can also talk off the air because
we'll see. I don't know, but there's no names. There's no nothing like that. So that's not.
Right.
There's nothing like planned. There's no secrets here. I'm just talking. Nobody freak out. But there's also the other sport I've gotten really into now that kind of strongman's taking a back seat is sort of a cousin to arm wrestling, which is arm lifting. Another sport I think a lot of arm wrestlers would enjoy because it's grip.
Grip sports, yeah.
Grip sport, yeah. So I would have the opportunity to do that also at the Arnold's on Friday if timing worked out. Like arm wrestling has my heart. You know, arm wrestling's where my heart is, but I do
get your brand out there, sister. Get your brand out there.
Yeah. And grip sport's really fun. I think a lot of arm wrestlers would get into it too because having a stronger grip does not hurt your arm wrestling. Now, when you arm wrestle, it hurts your grip. Like when your forearm's all fatigued and blown up and your tendons hurt, your grip becomes shit. But you can go get yourself a great grip workout and still arm wrestle.
Well, here, let me ask you this then, because, you know, I dabbled in grip sports prior to, you know, coming into arm wrestling because there was a moment where, you know, and I still, in the back of my mind, I still want to do this, the Crush to Dust.
Yeah, from the Iron Mind Challenge, the number 2.
Yeah, I still want to get certified in that.
Oh, you
and for those who don't know, because I have a loading pin in my garage.
Yeah.
You know, and I had the weights. You know, you're supposed to use a rolling thunder to lift.
Jody, you can do that easy.
You know, you got the hub lift of 45 pounds, picking up like this.
Yep.
And of course, you know, you swipe the card, squeeze the number 2. You know, Iron Mind. So yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that wants to do that still, and
Jody, let's both do it because Iron Mind just came out with a women's Crush to Dust, and I could qualify, but I haven't petitioned to do it yet. So
right,
let's get this under our belt.
Yeah, well, here's the funny part because I did some revamping my garage, and I actually sold a lot of my weights.
I understand that. I do.
And you know, like I don't have a weight bench anymore. I don't have a pulley system.
Sure.
I sold that. Olympic bars. I sold all that because, you know, I had to condense some stuff because I can't bench press anymore. Well, I can't bench press anymore because my shoulders are shot.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, okay, what's the point of having the bench press if I can't get the weight I used to get anymore? You know, I can't hit 300 pounds like I used to anymore because I'm afraid that if I do that, my shoulder's going to blow out in the middle of my leg and I got to have it drop on my neck.
Right.
So, you know, sold it, but I still have 4 of the 45-pound Olympic weight plates. You know, I still use the loading pin. I still got my, you know, like, my clamper thing I do, you know, I still got the grippers and stuff, but I noticed though, as I get older, I can't do them as often because that does put a torque on you, on your wrist and everything. Totally. But let me ask you this, more oftentimes than not, mainly in powerlifting, but when you pick up a lot of weight, and we'll use powerlifting as an example, when you do that kind of stuff, you're using like lifting straps. So you're kind of relying on that to pick up the weight.
Right.
Now, once you transfer over to arm wrestling, you ain't got no lifting straps to fucking help you.
Right.
Do you think that's a negative? Because now you don't have that to help you unless you get into the actual strap match to that.
Right.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So on the one hand, I would say strength is never a weakness. But on the other hand, I would say if you are a novice or from novice to intermediate, it will work against you because you'll pull and you're going to leave your hand behind because your brain doesn't understand that you should not pull harder than what you can withstand right here. So, you know, even if my body right now, right, if I could double all of my body strength from everything below my wrist, of course I would, right? And would that make me a better arm wrestler in some way? Yes. But you have to understand yourself well enough and arm wrestle enough to know that you can only withstand as much pressure as your wrist can translate. So
that was deep. That was deep.
And that's exactly why when people say you're cheating, you're using your body when you're arm wrestling, it's like, dude, are you strong enough to hold your body weight with your wrist? I don't think so.
I mean, no, that's a
No, I
legit
mean you are Jody. I just mean the haters. I'm talking to the haters.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's a legit question though, because if and when you break everything down, some people, tend to end up flopping because it's like
Right.
my wrists aren't strong enough because you rely so much on the wrist wraps when you're bench pressing. Or
And I think the
wrist
biggest
wraps
thing I see too with that, and because this was myself as well, coming from strongman, using wrist wraps. Now, I also, if you're trying to make your deadlift larger, I would say never let your grip limit your strength gains. So I would say use straps, then start working grip on a different day. That's my personal opinion. However, what I tend to see is here we are, ready to go. Boosh. They pull, the hand gets left behind. Yep, they crack their own hand backward or open. And that's the most common thing I see when lifters come into arm wrestling is they've got this massive boom. And that's also why I think a lot of lifters do really well in the strap. But you can still crack your own hand back in the strap. But it's training your brain to have that instinct to not pull harder than an angle you can actually stay in a good position for.
Lucky, she's in the show. Hey, Lucky, what's going on?
Up?
Another competitor at the round robin coming down from another weight class, so she may mix things up. But she says deep thoughts with Danielle, one of the favorite thing ever. So
I'll say Lucky is a blessing to everyone that is around her. So that's how I feel about her.
Ivan's in the house. He says, "What's up, everyone?" #ladies arm wrestling. There you go.
Cheers.
Now, here's a question. It's an age-old question. Some people say the workouts we do in arm wrestling is different. We're just weird like that, right?
Yep.
You have some people, here's this fence right here. Some people on that side of the fence are like saying, I love using hand grippers. I just love squeezing stuff, right? Those guys will be like, nah, man, you don't want to use hand grippers. It's counterproductive because when you squeeze them, your wrists go back.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Your wrist does this. I understand that. However, I'm doing the grippers to strengthen my hand.
Correct.
Not so much. Now, I got lighter grippers. Those plastic ones you get at like freaking, Dick's Sporting Good, whatever. Yes. I'll use those and then I'll just go boop. And then I'll go ahead and squeeze that. Fine. But when I want to, up the ante, what's up, Andy Beckett? When I want to up the ante, then I go ahead and jump into the Iron Mine or the Gillingham ones. Right. And then because when you're squeezing, you want to strengthen all that. When you're squeezing with these bottom fingers, what are you strengthening? You're strengthening this right here.
It's exactly right. When I'm arm wrestling, I want every single tool I have to be a top of the line tool. And grip is going to be one of those. And it's not always going to be the right tool. Like whatever job that you're doing, you don't need every single tool. You don't want pliers when you're trying to hammer a nail. But when you need pliers, you want exactly the kind that you need for what you're trying to do. You want a little needle nose or what are you looking for? And grip is the same way. And I would say grip, in my opinion, when you have a strong grip, if you ever gotten in a tight strap with somebody with a strong grip and they close their hand and now yours buckles backwards and you feel absolutely helpless, tell me that grip isn't a great idea when you're, and who cares in a strap then if you lose access to your cup. Now, outside of a strap, sure, you grip really hard, you block your own cup. I can cup real great when my fingers are nice and loose. I grip hand, oh, no, my cup sucks now. True. And for any novice, I feel like that is prime things I always teach to novices. Stop squeezing. Get around my hand. Hand finger containment. Because I know the stuff about grip and when to grip and when not to grip, that'll come later. You don't need to worry about that in your first 6 months of arm wrestling. But you'll learn it when you slip with someone the first time and you get tied up to them in the strap and the ref says close your hands and they close theirs and you're like, oh my God, what did I just get into?
Yes. Ivan says he can't wait to watch the ladies round robin and the Mac in person front row. So you have a fan, Mrs.
All right. Well, I hope I don't disappoint.
Now I'm gonna break this thing down with the hand gripper. You'll understand once I say it. You understand it. Everybody in the chat, feel free to follow along. So we know. And I got a gripper right there in my bag. I should probably get one out, but
I know I got like every single Captain to Crush in my basement.
Just trying to find out which one should I get out. Let's see here.
I love that you got a bag of it. That's great.
Yeah, I got all kind of treats up in here.
Wonderful.
Here, I'll get 2 of them out. Okay, so you got the one I said earlier, the plastic one. That'll be this red one here, right?
Yep.
Now, yeah, I can sit there, do this, and squeeze that all day. Cool. But when I want to up the ante, that's when you go up to this. This is a level 3 Gillingham gripper. So again, I understand. Once you squeeze that thing, yes, my wrist is backwards, as you can see, right? It's backwards. Now, I'm going to break things down here. This is where it's going to make sense. Y'all hear me out. So, reason why some people say you don't want to use grippers because, yes, I get it. When you squeeze hard, you can't cup.
Right.
Loosen it up, you can cup all. See how quick I can cup when I loosen my hand? When I make that fist and tighten it, it's not as fast.
But you know what you can do really good when you're with your wrist bent back a little bit?
You can press like a motherfucker.
And you can pronate.
Yeah.
Like, if you, especially in a strap, if you grip and your wrist is slightly cocked back, or if you're doing that belt lift, right? That belt lift that's so popular with the belt over like this, try that cupped, and then try that with your wrist cocked back just a little bit, and tell me which one feels stronger. And I would guess 9 times out of 10, just that little bit of like that, and suddenly your pronation is like, oh, why did my pronation just feel stronger? There's something about your access to pronation, especially in a strap. If you're squeezing and you've got your wrist back just a little bit and you pull sideways through with pronation, it's dangerous.
Well, the reason I don't do that because it hurts my wrist, and we all know in arm wrestling.
That's a good reason not to do it. That's a really good reason.
If your wrist is thrashed, then you're useless.
Yes.
So instead of having the strap wrapped around my thumb, I just have it through the webbing and just do back pressure lifts. That's what I do.
I actually like that even more, to be honest.
I do the back pressure lift because, at some point, because the strap does go through the webbing, right? Yeah. But the pronation thing, I mean, once that weight goes like here, and here's the thing about weights, you'll understand this more than anything else. The weights will not lie to you.
Correct.
If you're having an off day, the weights will tell you, nah, it ain't happening today.
You're not that guy right now.
Yeah, it ain't happening today. So for me, it's like I don't want to sit there. I only got one good hand left anyway. I got arthritis and bone spurs in this hand right here. So I want to try to preserve whatever I got left, right? So I don't do the pronating thing. I just I do the lifting thing. I lift the stuff. Arm lifting, lift it off the ground. If I can get it up, cool. If I can clear it off the ground, that's a win for me. That goes back to the mind frame of strongman.
And really, that's also all you need to win the center of the table. When you think about arm wrestling and those little lifts, and it's like, wait, you're only moving it 1 inch. What are you talking about? It's like, well, if you in Ready Go get from here to here, you've won. Like that's what we're talking about, is center of the table control. It's not that you can do some big, I can take it from here to here. It's that I just don't break. I can make it from here to here. Now I'm in position to do whatever I want.
If you could make your opponent start here and then make him go that way, that's a victory.
That's it. That's all you need.
It ain't that much. I understand there's ego lifting. I get it. And sometimes I was drinking Kool-Aid and all that stuff where you see somebody do a lift and kind of go, we're all guilty of that. Every single one of us are guilty. You see something on YouTube, you see something on Facebook and go, oh, Instagram, oh, fuck that shit. I'm going to try that. But then like a dumbass, you try that lift, but you want to add 5 pounds on it.
Totally.
We've all been there, right? And there have been times I'm able to clear some stuff, but there's some times I done fucked myself up too. So it's like, I'm not going to do that no more. So I don't get caught up in it no more. But again, here, there, that's all. That's it.
That's it.
Now, some people are stronger here because, once you get to the strap, you don't even worry about your hand no more. Fuck it, doesn't matter. I'm coming like this. But again, that's where that this comes into play. Comes into play in the strap, because then you can really fuck some people up. Crunch down. Because I guarantee you, and if I'm wrong, Danielle, please come in and correct me. I guarantee you, if you get into a strap match with somebody who has a strongman background, you gonna tell me that ain't gonna work for them? Tell me.
Dude, I'm an evangelical arm wrestler whenever I go to strongman events, and like everyone there, I'm like, oh, you should try strongman. You should try arm wrestling. You'd really be good at it. Come to arm wrestling. Come. It's like you're gonna absolutely hate overhead pressing and Atlas stones for like an entire year, but like don't focus on that. Just come arm wrestle. Because you're absolutely right. Because when you get a strong man, like, not every new person to arm wrestling is in tune with their bodies. Some people are, some people aren't. But when you get a strong man that's also got that kind of intuition with how to move, and then you're tied to him, and you're like, oh God. Like there's been plenty of times, like a brand new strong man will come to practice, like, oh, well, you're a novice. You grab the hand, you close your hand, and immediately okay, I need one of the guys. I need someone stronger. This man is too strong for me to help.
Right.
Yeah.
You feel that strength going, fuck. When you grip up with somebody, and then, if
there's no way for me to show you why you need to do what I'm saying, because I'm not strong enough to do it, because you're coming to the table with way too much firepower already. So
right. But to piggyback on what I was saying, and again, you don't have to squeeze as hard. Now, some people have that vice grip, clamp, which is fine. But just know you only got one way to go, which is sideways, because you squeeze that hard, your body's not made to pronate like that,
right?
Pronate and supinate.
Yes.
When you loosen up,
you limited yourself a little bit.
You can get there quicker. I'll loosen my hand up, whack. I can sit there and do that. Making a fist, it's taking me that much longer.
100% right. Totally agree.
So there's pros and cons of using these hand grippers. Like, would it benefit outside the strap? No. Would it benefit when you're in the strap? Yes. That's part of the fun too with arm wrestling, is sometimes like when you grip up with someone that refuses to load, and they've got these floaty little fingers, and you're like, oh God, I'm gripping up with a firecracker. I just know they're gonna absolutely launch. Am I ready for it? Yeah. They're playing the flute.
Yes.
What we used to call they're playing the flute, right?
Yeah, totally.
Where they're walking their hands up.
Yep. So right.
I get that. So aside from that, I know sometimes, some people can't see too much in the future for 2025. But again, you got stuff lined up. I'm happy you get these opportunities. You got one more event, before you put a bow tie on the year 2024 up in Toronto. You got the ladies round robin coming up. I know you got more events coming up. You know what?
I'll just say one more thing is that, and this is just about the bulking. I really should have said the shirt that I'm wearing. Go to Costco, get yourself a chicken bake. They're about 800 calories, 52 grams of protein, and they cost $3. You could get yourself 4 of these a day for $12 and have a fantastic bulk with 4 times the FDA recommended amount of protein. And
we got some in the freezer right now.
What could be better? So that's my.
Right, no, hold on. We got a box in the freezer right now. So
you really?
Yeah, we get them by the caseload. So
yes, you understand.
We get them by the case because my son loves them too. So instead of going there to the the food court and getting them,
I just love Costco, and those chicken bakes are,
because we can take a chicken bake out of the freezer, put that son bitch in the fucking
yes,
not the deep fryer, but what do we got?
Air fryer.
Yes, put it there. We good. Now, would you say eat 4 of them a day, and what now?
If you want a bulk, and then you've got more than 200 grams right there in chicken bakes for the low price. Well, if you buy it from Costco, they're $3.50. They're $3.50 per chicken bake from Costco, and you can't get that caloric value for protein anywhere else. I mean, come on. So that's really what I should have said was for bulking advice. Go to Costco, go to their hot bar, get yourself a chicken bake, and then buy another one to eat later. And that alone will be 104 grams of protein for $7. And I mean, you tell me a better value.
There you go. I might make one tonight. Shit, you never know. I make one tonight, So.
But Jody, thank you. I always appreciate your interviews. You're such an amazing host, and I have a really good time. So I appreciate. Well,
thank you, because I really want to hit this home. I've hit it home, and sometimes I sound like a broken record, but I'm really into the ladies division, for many reasons. But one of them is because I watch y'all, and you ladies are probably one of the most technical athletes out there. I mean, as far as form and everything, because you don't see too many ladies get sloppy on the table. Guys get all that fucking King's move and Jack's move and all that kind of stuff. You don't see ladies doing that kind of stuff. It's really technical, and I like that.
Theory, and I appreciate that. I have a theory about that because I've noticed that too, and I was like, okay, why is this? And I think, obviously there you have men and women, and guys have more testosterone than women naturally. That's not that's not a controversial statement. A lot more testosterone than most women. So I think the potential for men to be strong is also a lot more. Men are dealing with a lot more pressures physically on the arm wrestling table than women are, because they're just producing more force, more power. And I think the temptation to put all your chips into strength for men is higher than women because we don't have as many chips to put into strength. So we have to think about our avenues to move into more. And you get a lot of women too that don't lift but arm wrestle, whereas every male arm wrestler lifts. I mean, that's like a given. In some way, shape, or form, they're doing something with weight. That's not true for every single female arm wrestler. So a lot of them have to think a little bit more about what are we doing with this. That's my theory. I don't know if it's
theory. Okay. The approach is everyone's different too with the approach, right? Totally. You just said with the guys, there's pressure. Here's the thing. If you're worried so much about winning and losing, maybe this ain't the sport for you. Because look, I done dealt out some ass whoopings, and I took some ass whoopings in the sport. And this month marks I start my 15th year in this sport. Okay. Now I have a lot of ass kickings over the years, and I've also dealt some out too.
Yes.
But don't be so hung up on winning and losing. I understand that, no one likes to lose. We get that.
Of course.
But I think sometimes, I'm only speaking for the guys, when you put so much pressure on yourself, and for me, it happened 2015, maybe. I was at a tournament. Let me tell you something. Worst tournament ever. Never had a bad tournament like that ever since. Mm-hmm. Quick story, right? When you go to a tournament, your wife's there.
Yeah.
Your kids are there.
Right.
Sister-in-law, niece and nephew, mother-in-law.
Oh, man.
Aunts and uncles.
There, hey?
Aunts and uncles on my wife's side. And they're all there cheering you on. And you go 2-0, both hands. You also have a super match, and you lose 3-0, and you also lost $1,000 on that super match.
Yeah.
You know what? That was the worst time of my entire life in that sport.
Right. The emotional toll of that day.
Right.
I mean, that's tough. And that proves right there, this is not a sport for the weak of ego.
Right. That I could have just said, I could have packed it in, said, you know what? I got embarrassed so much in front of everybody, friends and family, that I should just walk away, never come back.
Right.
But the fact that, you know what? Fuck that. If I'm going out, it ain't gonna be like that.
That's right.
It ain't gonna be like that.
And that's what being a strong human being is right there, honestly.
Right.
So
for me, my approach, Danielle, was more like this. I'm not afraid to lose. Because then
how motivated were you after that day?
Right.
What kind of fire got lit?
Because then after that, I'm not afraid to lose. That takes that pressure out of the window.
Right.
Because now my pressure is, okay, I'm wrecking somebody's weekend. Who is it? Who's it going to be?
That's right.
That's how I approach things now. I'm fucking somebody's weekend up.
Right.
And that's just, because everybody, you have a different approach, and there you go.
And, it's hard. It is hard to feel like sometimes when you lose, especially when it's like that, you have a lot of people are looking at you that if you lose it, you've let people down. But at the end of the day, someone has to lose. So, arm wrestling, it's 50-50. One of the person has to be a loser every single time. And that's one of the things I really like about the sport is that even though every group of anybody has people that suck, right? Book club. There's always that one guy that nobody likes, right? It doesn't matter what it is. But arm wrestling, I think, has a good built-in design where since there's always going to be someone smaller than you that can beat you, it almost self-weeds out people that are overly toxic because you can't survive in that environment if your ego can't handle losing.
It's not only that, but it's like when you look at in the grand scheme of things, right? This sport can be so ego-driven.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, whatever, I lost, no big deal, shake it off, whatever. I remember, and my memory's kind of off right now, so correct me if I'm wrong. There was a match at the Monster Factory you were involved in. Was it you and like Le'Aaron Wilson?
Yeah, me and Le'Aaron. Yeah, and we went like, oh my gosh, we went so many. I think we had the most restarts of the whole night, too. Like it was an epic match.
That honestly, right there, because you pulled left and right, correct?
We did, and my left, that was one of those moments where my right, our match right, was so out of this world that when my left came around, I was like, my spirit is gone. Like all that adrenaline dump went into that right hand match. You know what I mean? Because like even Le'Aaron said afterwards, she's like, I've pulled you left before. She's like, what the hell is going on with your left? And I'm like, yeah, I know. It left the building. But right, man, we had just, oh my God, was that?
And if you don't mind me saying this, I think it was Monster Factory 1. I think
it was 1 or 2. I don't remember. I don't remember which. It was an early one. Maybe it was 1.
So go back, everybody. Go back and look at the Monster Factory 1 or 2. It's Le'Aaron Wilson and Danielle, and I'm telling you because it was so like, okay, here's Danielle. She got the power. Here's Le'Aaron. She got the speed. Who's going to win out?
Very much.
Who's going to get to their spot first?
Yep.
I can't tell you that right there. If that match doesn't make you a fan, I don't know what will. Because the atmosphere, I mean, y'all brought the house down. And, I'm like, okay, this is big time stuff over here. Because
that was the first match that I lost but felt like a winner because that match was we put so much into it. It was really fun.
Oh, don't let anybody fool you because you can lose a super match and your stock can still rise.
Yeah.
Don't let nobody fool you. That's a real thing.
That's true.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, because I think that was a day that we both pulled with heart. We both did our best. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you can leave a match, win or lose, and just feel like that was the best that I could have done at that time. Like, sure, right afterwards, if you lose, you think, oh, I did this, and this differently. But you can't know that until you know it. And so if you did the best of what you could, that's all you can do.
There you go. Well, guess what? We are hour 7 minutes in. I know it's probably 9:07 over there where you're at, but I'm going to go ahead and put a bow tie on this. Is there anything you want to add before we shut this thing down?
Thanks for everyone who stuck around and watched. Thanks for everyone who's watching it in post. And thank you, Jody. My Instagram right now, if anyone's just look up my name on my Instagram. I've got links to like the pay-per-view for Mac 2 if you're looking for where that is. Go to Beast Mode Arm Wrestling to look up all things for the round robin next April. And have a great night.
Yeah, see, promote yourself. Who else is going to do it? Get your name out there. Get your brand out there. Go ahead and do that.
And eat chicken base.
Once again, thank you for coming. And I'm going to go ahead and let you go. But good luck on your 2 matches because you got a lot coming at you. So good luck on those. And we will touch base again soon.
Thanks, Jody.
Take care. Have a good night.
You too.